Good evening, everybody. Welcome to your Rangers Review Transfer Deadline Day special. We're here once again to take you through the small hours, a couple of hours, well, just under 2 hours remaining until the window slams shut, as they say. I'm joined, first of all, for the first hour by Chris Jack and Stevie Clifford. First of all, Chris, it's been a busy old day for your good self.
It's been a busy old transfer window, but it's I think overall it's been a good transfer window. It's been a busy old day, but overall I think it's been a good day for us. I'm not on for long. I'm just popping in and out of these videos over the next couple of hours. So I thought I'd come and join the top team before Josh and Adam and others ruin it by talking football and talking tactics and stuff later on. There's no place for me or Stevie on those shows, as everybody knows by now. We're just here to talk about the headlines and the more interesting things.
Yeah, as Chris says there, we're getting Adam Thornton on at 9:30 as well, folks. And then we'll get Blair and Joshua on for the final hour. Stevie also joins us. Good to see you, Stevie. You made a little cameo appearance on our pre-match show yesterday, but we'll talk about the Old Firm game, I'm sure, during the course of the next hour. But how goes it?
We really don't need to.
How's it going?
I'm good, thank you. I'm not as smartly dressed as you. Or Chris, in that matter, but yep, it was my first day at work today, so
yes,
it went well, and yeah, I'm going to go back tomorrow. I think that's how it works. So yeah, it was good, and it's nice to be on. So yep, it's been as Chris says, it's been a fairly eventful. We've just spent nearly 8 million, rising to 10 million on a striker, and we're all sitting kind of in wonderment more than excitement. But I think everybody wants to hear from Chris. He's the only reason I'm here, to see you boys. But let's hear Chris's update, because he's the man in the know, isn't he?
Absolutely. Loads of you are asking as well for the yellow tie. So I've donned the yellow tie tonight. It's a Champions League tie, no less, from the 97-98 season. Look at that. Absolutely splendid. So yep, I'm suited and well, not booted. I've got jammies underneath the shirt, but there you go. The beauty of television. Right, let's crack on then. Without much further ado, Rangers have confirmed the signing in the last hour of Youssef Chermiti, a deal worth up to £10 million. He becomes the second most expensive signing for Rangers after Tor Andrew Flo, of course. And on the Rangers website, it says the 21-year-old joins in a 4-year deal. He came through the academy at Sporting Lisbon before making his move to the English Premier League. Chermiti made his senior debut in Primeira Liga when he was just 18 years old in a match against Benfica in January 2023. The promising young forward made the move to Everton that summer, where he made 22 appearances in the Premier League. A youth international for Portugal, Chermiti has represented his country up to under 21 level. Now, he said, I'm really happy to be here. When I spoke with Kevin and Russell, I knew straight away that I wanted to join the club. I can't wait to meet everyone, the coaches, my teammates, and all of the staff. I just want to meet everyone and get involved. I have heard about the atmosphere here and the stadium, and I can't wait to play. Now, head coach Russell Martin said, we're really pleased to bring Youssef to Rangers. He's a young striker with huge potential and a lot of qualities we're looking for in that position. At just 21, he already has valuable experience at a high level, and we believe this is the right environment for him to continue his development. We're excited to work with him over the coming years and help him fulfill that potential here at Rangers. Kevin Thelwell said, I'm delighted to welcome Youssef to Rangers. I know his character well from our time at Everton. I've always been impressed by his attitude, professionalism, and hunger to improve. We believe he can develop into a top striker here, and we're confident that Rangers is the right place for him to take that next step. We're all excited about what he can bring to the club over the coming years. So there you go, folks. Youssef Chermiti arrives. A story we broke last month, of course. I think Joshua had it on the site that Rangers were keen on this lad. It has come to fruition. Chris, certainly on social media, a lot of fans a bit apprehensive about the fee that's been shelled out for this boy, given that he hasn't really done anything in the game, to be honest. But yeah, it's one of those ones. Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy obviously know him well from their time at the Toffees. We've got to trust their judgment here, but it is a huge outlay for this lad.
I don't know if I'm able to concentrate for the next 1 hour, 53 minutes after your attire update there. That might put people right off their stride. On more serious matters and on £8 million striker matters, as we've said on a couple of the shows today, and certainly over the last couple of weeks after Josh broke the story that Shamiti was a key target for Rangers, it's a big outlay on a guy who, on the face of it, doesn't have a lot to back it up. But I think if you look at what Premier League strikers are going for, that's just the going rate. Now, people can argue whether you should be shopping in that market, whether Rangers should be putting that amount of money into one player. They have decided that he's the guy that is almost the final piece of the jigsaw. He's not going to be the final one in the door, but all summer we've spoken about the need for a number 9, the need for someone else to come in to that area. It's a big show of faith in this lad. At 22, he's still got his best years ahead of him. He's still got a hell of a lot to prove. If he can prove that in a blue shirt up here, then it could go down as a really smart bit of business, and Rangers will make their money back a couple of times over, which would be great. Right now, we just don't know. He's not played enough football. We don't know enough about him to write him off. I think it's easy to write him off, but I think we all have to give him a chance. Let's see how he settles. Let's see how he handles Ibrox. Let's see what he's like when he gets the ball at his feet inside the 18-yard box.
Stevie, going by social media, certainly the Everton fans, the ones I've read, are a bit frustrated that they've let them go on a permanent deal. They said he never really got much of an opportunity at Everton. What have you made of this signing? Is it one that excites you?
Well, it does, because it's a hell of a lot of money, Derek. And listen, I'm trying to look at the positive side of it. That there was a couple of years ago we couldn't afford 800 grand, never mind 8 million. Yeah. And to go and make this signing is a real statement of intent of where these owners are and what they see us doing in the future. So we've spent well over 30 odd million this transfer window, which is a pretty extensive sum of money for this football club. So they've and by the way, they've done good business out the door as well to get that money in. So it's kind of more or less there and thereabouts. Net fee wise and things like that, but to go and get this boy, there's a lot of skepticism over it. I think that's true, because it's such a high fee, because he's had a couple of years where he's not really kicked on at Everton. He hasn't fulfilled his potential as such, so we're buying a wee bit of that. But there's the other exciting point of it, is that, in my opinion, I don't see this boy not playing football. He's going to start when he's fit, because it's such a big outlay. And then Majowski, I think Majowski's going to start. So we could be venturing into uncharted territory here, but actually having two forwards up front, So I don't want to shock anybody, because I can't remember the last time I seen two up front for Rangers properly. Even Steven Gerrard only played Alfie on his own. It was never really Morelos and Defoe or anything. So you have to go back a long way to maybe see two strikers up front for Rangers. So the possibility of that changing it up. I know he used to play two up front for Southampton. Are we venturing back into those days? I think that's quite an exciting possibility. And look, he's a young lad, and he's getting bought, I think, for potential, especially after the last couple of years. He needs a good run of games. He needs a good run of form to kind of fit in. It would be nice if we could sign a striker that scored early doors and just hit the ground running. But it's a lot to ask for a young man that's not played a lot of football. So it's a big gamble. I don't buy the conspiracies into this. For Kevin Thelwell, this is a job risking transfer. I think they must really believe in him, because for Coppin, Oscar Cortez was one that kind of pushed him over the edge, I think, with regards to his future at Rangers, and it ultimately, he's moved on from the club. If this doesn't work out and he flops at such a big outlay, then it's a lot of pressure on Kevin Thelwell. So it's a ballsy transfer in many ways, but it's an exciting one. We've spent a lot of money on this guy, and for a fan's point of view, we just need to try and enjoy it and hope that he does hit the ground running. And listen, I'm looking forward to it. I really am. I'm looking forward to it. I really hope he hits the ground running. Obviously, I hope he smashes it. And I'm trying to stay positive on it, Derek, in terms of getting spent a lot of money on a striker. So there must be some quality there. And they must, Fairwell and Purdy will know him very well. They must really rate him. So, yeah, I mean, let's run with it and see how it works out.
Yep. Someone asked his injury history. Well, he had 2 injuries last season. He picked up a foot injury in August time that kept him out until November time, a foot injury. Then he picked up a hamstring injury in January, kept him out until the end of February. So he has been injured a fair bit in the last year, that's for sure. But Rangers pretty much buying potential here. A lot saying that the fee, of course, and shop, but that's probably the what he's worth. I know Everton paid around like 15 million quid to bring him in from Sporting Lisbon 2 seasons ago. So taking a bit of a hit from him, but it's no disgrace. I don't think that he's unable to break into that team. But 8 million quid, you look at what strikers are going for these days, even ones that are unfancied, unproven, are going for big money, especially down south, Chris. A lot of people asking, and we sort of touched on it on the show this morning, only Oliver Antman and Derek Cornelius, who is set to be confirmed a little bit later on, are 2 players that out with England that Rangers have went and got this summer.
Add Majovski into that one as well.
Majovski, yeah.
So that'll be 3. I think we wrote right at the start of the window, or certainly early on it, and we spoke about it on the show, that there would be this change from Rangers, that they were going to go back to a more domestic market. You look at some of the successes of not doing that last season. You also look at Agaman, the profit was made on him, the profit that was made on Jefty. We then look at other names Stevie mentioned. Oscar Cortez there didn't work. Bayrami hasn't worked. And I think people have to remember that recruitment it's the most important part of the off-field structure of the club. It's also the most difficult part to get right. If you're bringing in 10 signings every summer, which Rangers have now consistently for a long time now, if you can get 7 or 8 of them to be a success, you've absolutely hit the jackpot. You'll never get 9 or 10 coming in and being guys that you could just say that's a surefire success, either on the pitch or off the pitch. It just doesn't happen that way. That strike rate is unheard of. Unfortunately for Rangers, the strike rate has been too far the other way. We've been looking at 2, 3, 4 that you can say are real successes. I think the jury is still out on this window. It's still too early. We still have to see how players really settle in and know what they can go on and achieve. But I don't think it's a surprise that they have looked to shop a bit more locally, just given the number of changes at the club. What's a new recruitment team coming in? Their speciality has been England. That's where they've worked over recent seasons. So I don't think it's a surprise that they've gone down this road. As I mentioned there, the negative of that is you can have to pay big fees, and people will say, well, what does 8 million get you in Central Europe? What does 8 million get you in Scandinavia? What does 8 million get you in the Far East? Potentially a lot more. But £8 million ultimately is £8 million. Whether you're putting into a guy from Japan or whether you're putting into a guy from Merseyside, it's a big outlay for Rangers, and that brings its own pressure. Kevin Thelwell, Dan Purdy, Russell Martin, they must be sure that Sharmiti can live up to that pressure. You have to say it's not worked for him at Everton. If it can work for him at Rangers, everyone wins out of that situation.
Yeah, I just hope he, like Stevie says, he hits the ground running. I certainly think there's more value elsewhere as opposed to shopping down south. That is clear to anyone. But it's an interesting one. I like the idea as well. Pedro says 4-4-2. I would love Rangers to go back to 4-4-2. I think the game in general, you hear people saying it's boring now to watch, and the different formations that you're seeing. Just let's go back to the 90s. 4-4-2, 2 wingers, either flank, 2 midfielders, get it into a big guy, a little guy up top. Wojciechowski's quite big as well. No, Sharmiti's 6'4", but I'm really intrigued to see if the pair of them can work together. That 8 million quid though, Stevie, a lot of fans saying, could that not have been spent elsewhere? Are there not other areas of the pitch, problem areas that need addressed? A lot of comments coming in with regards to left back, for example, and elsewhere. I mean, centre half, of course, Cornelius coming in. But should that money have been maybe spent elsewhere, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could have. I would have liked to have seen an £8 million midfielder in there. I would have liked to have seen an £8 million centre back in there. I would like to have seen an £8 million left back, right back. There's plenty of positions we could have spent money on, Derek. It's just the issue is that, you know, we're not in charge. So we've signed 13 players, and we could probably all sit here and go, we need an R5. The spine of the team, could it needed some quality right in there? Then yeah, I think it probably could. But he'll put faith in the ones that he signed. So it's one you honestly, and I know it's difficult. We just need to trust Thelwell and Martin and Purdy that's the way that it's going to be. And see if this boy hits the ground running and he turns out to be a superstar that bangs in, 30 goals, and 8 million is going to be a snip. But it's just one of those ones where we have to trust. And yes, Derek, I would have maybe put a lot more kind of onus on other positions possibly for that kind of outlay. For a star man, I think a 6 or a centre back could have been really, really good. But it is what it is. They've identified this one. Maybe they've identified different targets to come in possibly in January or next summer. They're looking 2 or 3 windows ahead, and they realise or think we need the firepower at this moment in time. So look, he's 6'4". Is there a chance that we could maybe win a header from a set piece? Because we were nowhere near it yesterday.
No. Apart from John Suter, which was one side.
Yeah, apart from that, I don't think we got anything on any of them, which was disappointing. So if this big guy can get in there and rough a few people up and add that kind of presence, then he's worth the outlay, because we need that. I just hope it's one that works out, because it is honestly, it's a signature move of the summer for Rangers, for that kind of price tag and that, that kind of outlay and stuff like that. So I just hope it works, because he's the type of player as well. And Cornelius was needed as well at the back, left-sided. So, you've got to hope that these are the ones that make the big difference in the team, because although they looked better yesterday in terms of defensively and stuff, there wasn't a lot going forward at all. So it's about, making the right changes that can make the big difference. So I think we're stronger as a squad than we were when we started, but you're only really going to be able to tell that in the next coming months. And we don't allow months, do we? We expect them to turn up against Hearts and be prime Brazil, because they really need to be. So, that young boy, he needs to come on and get a double and do really well from the word go. But it is what it is, Derek. Yeah, and people have got, to your original question, without all the waffle that I added onto it, people have got a point. You could have spent it in other places, couldn't you? But we've just got to trust what they do.
Stephen with a point. If he's half as good as this lad, then we might have a player on our hands. Certainly when he was interested in playing for Rangers, he says that our new Daniel Kuzan. Loved him when he was in the mood, which was rare, you've got to say, but he was unplayable at times. I've not had you on since Rangers have brought in Bojan Miovski. Stevie, what's your opinion on that move? How do you feel like he got on yesterday? I, for one, think it's a smart bit of business by Rangers. I'm a big fan of Miovski, and good price as well at 2.6 million, rising to 4.2. That looks like good business on the face of it to me.
Yeah, look, I think everybody was really keen on Bojan Miovski, weren't they? Because we had loads of comments during shows, Derek, and especially on my own platform, a lot of people saying go and get Bojan Miovski, and I never really thought it would be possible, having just went to Girona and the outlay they paid. So to get that deal, yeah, fantastic. I really like the deal. The issue I have is what I've always said about your number 9s. We need to fix that in terms of, we need to create so that, if they're going to change it and put 2 up and be more exciting up front and that, then yeah. But Miovski's one on paper that should work. I don't like the phrase no-brainer, because when it gets thrown about, they're normally the ones that never work. But I'm really hopeful that this is one that will. And yesterday I seen enough from him that I think, he's got good movement, makes good runs, and You know, we need. He never got one opportunity yesterday, which is the most disappointing thing. We need to get the ball to this boy to create opportunities, and if we do that, he will score goals. So, yeah, I think it's definitely a positive sign, and I've got more concerns about how he's going to be used, and are we going to get the chances to him? Because I've said a lot. Like there's Miovski come in at 9. We've already tried Danny. We've already tried Cyril. We've tried Hamza, and we never really created for any of them. So I'm not meaning to be negative around it. What I want to see is us really flourish with a 9 in there. So if that means we're going to have a 9 and 10 in the big fella, Sharmiti, then great. But something needs to change for that to work and click, and for that excitement then to generate, to be able to go, well, Miovski is going to flourish. So, yeah, I'm glad he's here. I think he'll be a good signing, but we need to fix that bit for us to allow that to happen. And that's where I'm trying to be kind of balanced and look at it from that point of view.
Yep. So Miovski and Chermiti in. They've got a bit of a tough act to follow, really. Cyril Dessers has departed Rangers, and he's signed for Panathinaikos in a move worth £3.5 million plus add-ons. Scored over 52 goals, didn't he, for Rangers over his 2-year spell, and he now heads over to Greece. Russell Martin confirmed after the game yesterday that it's likely that he's played his last game. Got to say, Chris, I know many people would agree with me as well, but sad to see him go. I thought he produced some really great moments in a Rangers jersey. We know he missed a bucket loads of chances. Always great to deal with. Good professional. His previous managers said that. Michael Beale, of course, Philippe Clement, and most recently Russell Martin. And I think he'll go and do well for Panathinaikos. But big act to follow, really. Take out his goals in that Rangers team. It's up to Chermiti and Miovski to get those goals.
I think his track record speaks for itself. Every club that he's been at, he is a guy that goes into. He's been at a number of different clubs now, and I think he can say at every one of them, "I've done my bit. My scoring record is good." I don't think there's a player over the last 2 seasons that we have spoken about as often or written as many words about than Cyril Dessers. That's probably a good thing and a bad thing. I think we've seen a bit of social media chat after he's left, and Rangers fans wishing him well, and I think that's right. Now there were times where he infuriated the life out of them, times where they gave him a lot of stick. I think some of it unwarranted at times, but you have to admire his availability. You have to admire his robustness. You have to admire his mentality. It takes a certain character to be a Rangers player, and Cyril Dessers certainly had that. Did he miss chances? Of course he did. Could he have been better in matches? Of course he could have done. But as a guy to have in a squad, as a guy to speak to, as a guy to have going through a mix zone after a big game victory or a big game defeat, there's so much goes into being a successful Rangers player, and I think Dessers had a lot of qualities that you would look for in any Rangers player. And I think now people will actually miss him. I think it might be one of these cases you don't know what you had until it's not there anymore. As you say, it's a big act for Miovski and Chermiti. They're the guys that have to carry that scoring burden. I would be surprised if there's many Rangers fans that don't wish Cyril all the best and whatever comes next in his career.
Yeah, some interesting comments coming in. Bob says, I'll buy CD9 a beer when I see him. John with the point says, Dessers was a model pro and could handle the pressure of the shirt. I've said this before. When he initially signed, we had a Feyenoord podcaster on, Johan, and he said that when Feyenoord signed him initially on loan, he was on a radio station and he said, what's going on? Why are we buying this guy? And then they brought Cyril Dessers on, and he says, I'll prove you wrong at the end of the season. And come that end of the season, Johan said that all the Feyenoord fans loved him, and he left it with their best wishes. And like you say, Chris, he's sort of a lovable figure wherever he goes, despite frustrating many. Stevie, do you wish him well? What's your sort of recollections and your memories of Cyril Dessers?
Look, as Chris said, attitude. He had the desire. He had the balls to play for Rangers, which many don't. And you know, he was able to be robust enough to keep playing every week. He a tremendous guy to deal with. The truth is that his goal scoring record is exceptional. 52 goals and just over 100 appearances. I think absolutely fabulous record, if that's right off the top of my head. He's been great from that point of view. History will be kind to him in terms of that, and he's such a lovable big guy, but frustrating. He could literally be, you know, the best player 1 minute and the worst the next, and that's what he was like. He missed too many opportunities. Sometimes his all-round game wasn't the best as well, but that's been highly critical. It would be wrong. There's loads of times we've sat here after games and stuff like that and said that he wasn't great. But the truth is that he was always available. He was always there. He was always there to miss chances. I think the Dundee game is what will always make me smile in terms of, you know, he missed so many chances, but just kept going and going and going and going. And then 10 chances missed, and then pops up with an outstanding finish in the last minute to win the game for us, more or less. And then, you know, I think that summed him up. He had some, by the way, some brilliant finishes. Betis, Old Trafford, Olympiacos, Tannadice, scored against Celtic with a wonderful goal. I think, to be credit to him, I think that Billy Dodds got the very best out of him under Barry Ferguson, working with him in that last, you know, kind of 3-4 months. Not many players scored in every game after the split for Rangers. Cyril Dessers is one that has done it. So he scored some excellent goals for us. So good, you know what I mean? Good luck to him. He doesn't go with any ill feelings from the support, that's for sure. And everybody will wish him all the best. And you know that's a good thing for him. But for us, business-wise, well, I think a year left on his deal at that age. I think it's a fabulous deal for Rangers money-wise. There's probably nobody in the squad that you would turn down that kind of deal for. So good on Cyril. Wish him all the best, and it's a good move for Rangers as well.
Yep, he's tweeted to say it was an absolute honour to wear the number 9 at Rangers, something that will fill me with pride for the rest of my life. I want to wish everybody at Rangers all the best. Take good care of the club. You guys are so important. So great parting message there from Big Cyril, and we all wish him well, I'm sure, over at Panathinaikos. Moving on, and as we hit 9:30, Adam Thornton has joined us backstage. We'll bring him in a little minute. But Rangers also, as we mentioned, looking to tie up that deal for Derek Cornelius from Marseille. And as I speak, they have just unveiled the big Canadian centre-back. What can you tell us about this deal, Chris?
That it's just been confirmed in the last 5 seconds. That one it's obviously been on the go over the last couple of days. Again, one that we've reported on the site in the last couple of days as well. An initial loan, and Rangers then have the option on that one next summer. So that's the centre half that Russell Martin has been looking for. We've never reported right at the start of the window on the interest in Connor Cody. That one looked like it would get done, and then it went quiet. He also then joined Wrexham, and Rangers missed out on him. They then turned their attentions from a guy who would have provided a real bit of experience and a lot of games behind him, turned their attentions to Nobel Mendy at Real Betis. That one actually fell through right at the very last stage of the deal, and that one didn't proceed. Since then, I think the manager has spoken about needing another centre-half in, needing someone with a bit more experience, and both domestically and internationally, I think Cornelius ticks that box. We do believe that he will be the last defensive reinforcement of this window. So people that are looking for a left back are going to be disappointed. Puts a fair bit of pressure on Jayden McHoma, you have to say, but that's the route that Rangers have chosen to go down. So no, that's one that's done. All the details on the website and our socials for people that want to go and check that one out. On that, I will bid you boys farewell. We'll bring Adam in. He can give us a bit of tactical chat, and I will be back later on if there's anything else doing.
Right, substitution Jack for Thornton. So on comes Adamski. There you go. And goodbye CJ. I've just brought him back in. There he goes. How's it going, Adam?
Good, thank you. I'm glad you didn't say upgrade there. I can't really compare with Chris when it comes to deadline day, can
I? Yeah. What's that? Is that a Fleetwood Mac picture you've got behind you?
I've just realised it's the Rumours album, which was completely coincidental. I didn't actually mean to put that on our transfer rumours briefing, but yes, it's.
I was just thinking of the David Brent scene there when he was talking about the course in Dreams, but we won't dive into that, even though it is an evening show. But you know where we're going.
Is Watershed still a thing? I think we're fine.
Anyway, what have you made of the business today, Adam? Then, of course, we discussed previously on the show about the lad Chermiti coming from Everton for a deal worth up to around 10 million quid, which is no small change. And then Derek Cornelius, who has just been unveiled as well. What's your views on both?
Chermiti, bit of an unknown, really, isn't it? No goals the last 2 years is not a bonus. Shall we say? It's very much not. But I think it's always difficult to tell, because if you try and get 4 Rangers fans in the room, they'll give you different opinions on anything. But in terms of the Everton opinions that I've seen, it seems a little bit like they are not quite Gassama levels of outpouring from going, but it seems like they're a little bit mixed, and they thought he might have had a chance. He maybe was a little bit unlucky. So we'll see. It's a huge chunk of change. I think I would be pretty comfortable that we could probably get more proven quality for that. We've seen a few in the last couple of days going that look a little bit more well, they've actually scored goals in the last 2 years, if we want to be blunt about it. But we'll see how it goes. We have to trust, I guess. I think Stevie's point about 2 up top is something that I could see at times for sure. Particularly, I know you just spoke about left backs. We've went to 3-5-2 at times, or certainly 3, and then you could argue whether it's 3-5-2 or 3-6-1. We've went that at times. Maybe that might be an option in certain games. I'm thinking maybe away in Europe that Migoma maybe doesn't play some games, and we go with a left winger at wing back. We've seen Gassama play there a couple of times. We've seen Finlay Curtis on the other side, for example. So potentially that might mitigate the left back piece at times as well. John Sterling coming back, of course, will hopefully help over there if he can. So, Chermiti, I'm not sure. Well, I say, what I will say is I'm really excited about Cornelius. Like, really excited. I think it's very Rangers that someone ticks so many boxes and then is an absolute disaster. So I have to caveat that right away. But he just looks like what you would want, I think, from the profile. He is an experienced defender. He's left-footed. He has played a fair bit. He's played at Malmo, which are a big club in Sweden, but they are heavy on the possession. Same as Russell Martin is. It's the same kind of build-up. He's played there for a couple of years, the top end of a good league, done well. Anybody who goes to Marseille and the chaos that surrounds Marseille at any point and does well or survives there, I think, not going to say it's similar or what's better or what's worse, but I think that's a very demanding club. Lots going on there, as we know, on and off the pitch. So he's going to have experience of that as well, international experience as well. I like him. He's rounded, I think, as well. He's had a bit of experience of being a sort of traditional centre half, and then he's playing a bit as well. I don't want to say he's a complete defender. I don't want to put any pressure on him, but he fills one of the glaring gaps for me in the team. He absolutely fills it. In theory, we'll see how it plays out, but I'm optimistic about that one for sure.
Yeah, came on as a sub last night for Marseille against Lyon as they lost by 1-0. But like Adam says here, Stevie, this looks like a centre half that could slot into that back line, left-sided, which is good. Big unit of a lad, got a track record as well at some top clubs. It's a loan, incidentally, folks, for those asking. It's a loan with an option to buy in the summer. Your thoughts on Cornelius, Stevie?
Is a very solid Football Manager signing. Plays 7.5, no bother at all, no thrills. I'm hoping he's a kind of Sasa Papac unsung hero, just a constant 7-8 every week. Can also play left back according to Sky Sports and reports. So if he is coming in, it covers that, I think, as well, because McHoma on his own at left is potentially a wee bit light. So if something was to happen, then we do have cover in there as well. But I think Adam, said everything really. On paper, this is a good signing for Rangers. It's one that works. It's one that makes perfect sense. It's one that probably should have been one of the first signings in the window, but we've had to wait until the very end, just the way things have worked out. And I'm looking forward to seeing it. And it I'm just sitting kind of hoping that, Chermiti comes in and he plays well, and Cornelius comes in and plays well, and then these are the ones that take us that little next bit, that are going to make the difference to the 11, that are going to be, or not the difference, but are the difference to Russell Martin's system, the way he wants to play. And I'm not going to say that, I don't want to put too much pressure and say they'll be the outstanding ones, but sometimes, for the unit and the system to work, you need specific players in it for that to flourish. So my hope is that a natural left-sided centre-back will make all the world of the difference, and the big boy up front, will add that kind of physicality and presence that perhaps we've not had. So it's very blind, Derek, in terms of, of what is he actually going to be like and how much have I seen of him, but it's all on hope. On paper, as Adam says, it looks like a great deal, and hopefully it turns out to be. And also reporting, Chris is saying online that we have an option to buy at the end of the summer as well. So if it works out for us, then it's a really good one. And lefties in the centre-back area aren't easy to find as well. And it looks like we've stumbled upon one that's tailor-made for us. So welcome to the club, and I hope he fits in and makes a difference, Derek.
Yeah.
See, in a similar vein, Derek, I'm not sure if Enciala, if the deal's been confirmed or anything, but if he's still here post the window, I was a little bit, or very surprised that he got jettisoned without any, even a sort of pre-season by any looks of it. That was a bit of a strange one to me. I'm not suggesting he'll be a starter in. I think he's got a lot to go, but when you think about some players that have been getting game time, I'm not sure he's significantly worse than some people. If he's still there, I think there's scope to use him back three, for example. I know people don't like it when I say things like this, but he could fill in at left back as well. People tend to want players in their right positions. It's not like Walter Smith ever played a player out of position, of course, but I think something like that would be an option for sure, because as Stevie said, we're missing left-footed defenders. He wasn't particularly great in the air or anything like that in Ciala. I thought he used the ball quite well. I've seen it said that maybe he didn't have the ball position for a Russell Martin team, but I think there'd be something to work with there if we could keep him, if he's here, I should say, and potentially use him over the course of the season, because we know it's Rangers and we're going to get injuries, so we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
If he's not on that, and he is going to Dynamo Kiev on a straight loan, I think that's a great move for not only him but us as well, because if he goes and has a really good year, then he should be an option, especially, by the way, when 4 of our defenders are currently on loan at the club. So him coming back in, say they sign Cornelius, having 2 natural left-sided centre-backs would be a really good thing. So Adam makes a good point. If we do keep him and he's not in it, I'm not sure whether we can outside of a window, but could we send him to Wraith, for example, on loan as part of the development? Because see, instead of him sitting for 6 months training with a B team and things like that, could we send him to a level like that where he could play every week? I don't know whether or not it's possible outside the window. Loan moves sometimes can, I'm not sure. But if we could do that, then, on the basis that he wasn't getting played at all, Derek, I would rather we try and give him that first team experience than sitting with him, because, as Adam says, you never know. Enciala did get a bit of a raw end of the stick with regard to not getting a chance at all. Is he much worse than Fernandes, for example, who spent a lot of money on potential? And I'm not criticising Fernandes. I'm just saying we've spent a lot on that potential. Well, Enciala, we thought, had potential also. So I would rather we'd done something with him than he just got bombed out and doesn't get an opportunity. So if Kiev doesn't happen, could we, if he's not going to get game time, could we send him to one of the development teams on loan or the development agreement and use that? I'm not too sure, but if we could, it would be worthwhile exploring for me.
Yeah, Fernandes falls into the bracket we were talking about earlier. Could that money have been spent better elsewhere in key positions that Rangers needed to strengthen, as opposed to just potential? Rangers need players right now, and that is a worry certainly of mine. At this point here, we can't get Raksaki on loan, can we? Hit our maximum. No, Rangers have got 4 loan players. They get allowed 5. So another space.
5, is he not? I think it's 6, is it not?
We're allowed 6.
6.
We're allowed 6. Yeah,
Yeah.
and have we not got 5?
Yeah, now we've got 5, yeah.
Off the top of my head, just running through it, let's see, Giga, Magoma,
Aaron's,
Cornelius, Moore.
and Moore.
Yeah.
So we've got 5, so one more.
Yeah. So there you go. This point though about the back line being predominantly loan players, Adam, is that a worry for you? That we're just kicking the can down the road, if you like. Not just that, James Tavernier out of contract next summer.
Yeah,
John Schuster out of contract. You're
kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't with loan players, aren't they? If they're great and you can't keep them, then that's annoying. And if they're if they're not very good, you want to send them back before the end of August in certain cases. Yeah, I think it is a concern. I was hoping that this window, I've said this before, given the length of time that some people have been in and around the club, I was hoping that this window was a bit more planned out, shall we say. I realise we're at the mercy of players going, players coming in, other transfers. There are clubs that will be way above us in players' priority lists. I get that, but up until the other day, I think it was sort of 7 weeks between signing Gassama and signing Bojan Miovski. And 2 loan players come in then as well. So I was sort of hoping that we would have done a little bit more. I think we need a little bit more anyway, if I'm being brutally honest. Even if we get another one in here, I'd have liked another left back. I would have liked another centre mid, as Stevie said. I'm not delighted with Miovski, Chermiti and Danilo as a 3. I say that without really having seen Chermiti, but having seen a bit of him, I don't know. I think we're missing a kind of Egeman type, if you like. The boy that was linked earlier on today, Diakite, looked really quick, that he could press. He would be an issue for defenders. I think we're missing a bit of pace up there, but we'll see what happens there. So, yeah, in a roundabout way, it is a bit of a concern, certainly at the back, for sure. I would have liked us to bring in another couple of players in there, but we'll have to wait and see. Worst case scenario, if we're absolutely delighted with all of our attack next summer in midfield, and all we need to do is go and buy 2 or 3 defenders to strengthen, then I think we'll be okay. But yeah, it's always a bit of a risk. But again, just trying to get the business done, I guess. Trying to horse trade, making sure that we're not committing ourselves to really long deals for players that aren't going to fit, like we've done the last couple of years. It might end up being something positive.
Yeah, that's an interesting point from Neil. I'll get your lads' thoughts on this. He says, do you think the window should be closed by now? Why does it have to go into the 4th week of the season? Absolutely, Neil. In fact, if it was up to me, I would just scrap the window altogether and have it back in the good old days where you can go and buy a player whenever you want. But that is my view. Stevie, your thoughts on the transfer window? It's a bit of a strange one as well, this one, because, of course, the English window closed at 7 p.m., the Scottish window closing at 11 p.m. I would have liked it to close at 7 p.m. because I'm normally in my bed at this time, but there you go. The things we do for you guys watching on. But the transfer window, Stevie, you a fan?
See, when we're doing as much business and we need as much time as we are, then yeah. But if it was a transfer window where you signed 2 pretty early on and then it kept going and there was all that speculation, then yeah, it can become a wee bit tedious and stuff like that. But for a window that we've done so much and quite a few have left and probably needed to do more, like we discussed, then yeah, it's fine. Overall, I think Martin Ramsey has got a really good idea where it just runs for a month, everything's off camera, you're not allowed in the media, and then on the very last day, everything just gets declared to the support and there's no hassles. I think it would put 1 or 2 of Rangers Review guys out of job, perhaps Mr. Chris Jack, I'm thinking. But aside of that, it is what it is, Derek. I would hope, it needs to be the last window that we have such a turnover, that we have such a reset. It needs to be, I know we brought in 13, but, and 5 of them are loans, I get it. But there's a great pressure on, 7 out of those 8 permanent signings to work and be ones that we can rely on. And then 2 or 3 of the loans also to be ones that we can possibly pick up or whatever. So there's a lot of pressure on this window for Rangers. We cannot afford to be sitting in the summer next year going, well, we signed 13 last year, we need another 13. It can't work like that. As Adam says, if you're sitting with a window going, well, you need a striker and a couple of defenders, it needs to get back to a normal level. We can't keep doing this. So hopefully it's the last window where we require so much and we can start building more on the windows that are coming. Maybe add one in January that we really need. And then in the summer, you need that 3 or 4 maximum. So, even the Walter Smith days where we needed a lot of players, 3 and 4 was about the max you got in the summer. So turning to a wee bit of normality like that is more of a concern than the actual transfer window and stuff for me, Derek.
Yeah. Do you long for the days of yesteryear, Adam, when Walter could go and get a player a la an Andy Dibble or something like that and at any time in the season?
Yeah, I think it would be good to go back to that, but I think a halfway house would be kind of similar to what Martin thinks. I would have it in the month of June, but I would have it as televised to the nth degree at that point, just as much as you like, just wall-to-wall coverage, but only in June. 1st of June start, finish last day of June, when pre-season starting for Rangers, essentially. There you go, that is you starting, get a full pre-season, because that's what Rangers need. I've said that for a while. Rangers have needed 3 or 4 players down the spine of the pitch that you 100% trust and agree on. We've needed them to be embedded in early doors so that they've got a chance, because it's insane up here anyway, we know that, but also the volume of games. I don't know if there is many other clubs that are expected to win every single game that have 4 league games, a cup game, potentially 6 Champions League qualifiers, all in the month of August. There'll be some, but I don't think they've quite got the same intense pressure while we're trying to sell players, sign players, all that sort of stuff. It is so much to do. And I think we see that with some of the players that are coming up. I think I pulled a stat out on one of my shows that Joe Rothwell had only played something like 1,200 minutes twice in the last couple of years, and 2,500 minutes last year. It's not far off 1,000 minutes already now, and it's the end of August, pretty much 1st of September. It's just an insane amount of football early on. The manager has said that a couple of times. Where everyone is with that will be seen as an excuse, but there's a fact that big clubs in the top 5 leagues maybe played 3 games just now, if you're lucky, and Rangers have played 11. So all of that, I think, would help us very, very much if we could just have a month and say, end of June, that's it, done. Everybody go, and we'll see what we've got, and then do a week in January or something if you need someone to come in.
Yeah.
You should have asked Adam first, because I agree with everything he said now that he said it.
Well, I'm coming to you. We're going to move on because we talked about the 2 lads that have come in, and of course, Cyril Dessers leaving. But probably the biggest news of the day, Stevie, concerns Nico Raskin. Of course, left out of the squad yesterday. Wasn't even in the stadium, but we had a story on the website earlier, folks, that he's staying at Rangers and he's set for clear the air talks with Russell Martin. I think that's a relief. I think Stevie could have been doing with him in the middle of the park yesterday. It is what it is. Let's just hope that the head coach and the player can resolve any differences that exist between the pair of them. Your thoughts on Raskin?
That it should never have got to this stage. Should never have been played out in public. It doesn't do anyone any good, the club or the player, especially when he's such an asset for us. Ideally, Nico Raskin would have went on to another club this summer, and Rangers would have maximised his value from a club point of view. Because from here on now, his contract really does start to tick down and all these things start to diminish. So I was never really worried about him leaving on the backs of last week. He's very happy here. He wants to stay here. And that's, whether or not if a big offer had came in, he most likely would have went. But for Nico now, I think what he needs to do is knuckle down and get in the team and listen to Russell Martin. Because whether we like it or not, Russell Martin is the head coach. And I say that because there's a lot of doubters out there and there's a lot of criticism for him. But regardless of that, if the head coach asks you to play a certain way, you need to do it. So if this has been the fallout, Nico needs to knuckle down. And Russell also needs to to have a wee bit of, I don't know, he needs to perhaps listen to his players and things as well. And I say that because of what Neil McCann was saying with regard to Nico and the kind of confrontation our side. So, you know, if Nico is a wee bit ill-disciplined on the pitch where he doesn't keep positions and things like that, then he needs to learn to play that. But Martin needs to get the message over to him as well. And essentially what I'm trying to get at is the pair of them need to do the right thing for Rangers. And if we've got an asset like that, which we do, and Nico Raskin is a high-value asset. He's a Belgian international. He's in the squad with some excellent players. He isn't a bad player. We need to maximise it, Derek, is my overall point. But I would like the pair of them just to clunk their heads together and get on with it for the best thing for Rangers, and that's all I want to see. We want a Nico Raskin thriving the best possible way that he can. So let's try and make that happen.
Yeah, it's all a bit unnecessary, it seems, at this, Adam. And as I touched on there, Rangers could have been doing with him. Arguably, he's the best player at the club. The fact he wasn't even in the ground yesterday is just a bit of a nonsense, really.
Definitely is, yeah. Was a big fan of Raskin before he signed. I think we've been rumoured for the best part of a year before he signed. Thought he would make a huge difference. He then obviously had that 18-month spell in the middle where he wasn't great, and I think most people would probably have sold him this time last year for a very low fee, if we're being honest. Now he wasn't far off where I think the support probably is on Danilo at this point. Maybe that's harsh, but it's been a huge turnaround. I said right at the start throughout the summer, sensible clubs sell Raskin early doors this year because 2 years left in his contract, the perfect age, 24, to maximise the amount of money. He's got the international recognition. He's off the back of a great 6 months for Rangers. Potentially, stock isn't going to get any higher than that for me. That was my opinion, May, June time. The differences there, I guess, is, as Stevie sort of outlined, while there's clubs interested, I think we know there were clubs interested that never got to the stage where it was anything close to what looks like a bid. As fact, well, we know that for sure because they've said that there's no bids coming in. I then think, again, I agree on Stevie's point, manager and player then have to make it work. Players being half in, half out, managers thinking players are half in, half out. Who knows what the actual reality of that is there? But I think now the window is shut, they absolutely need to work it out. I think personally, he needs to sign a new contract now, or as soon as possible, because that I said this earlier on Twitter. 2 years to go, and the window shuts. The player is in control, or starting to be in control. If he then gets to next summer and he has a great World Cup or even a decent World Cup, and he's only got a year to go, there's a chance we might get a decent fee for him at that point. But it's also a risk as well, because players can run their contract down. He could get an injury next week. Touchwood, he doesn't, and that sort of is a bit of a risk. So I've sort of said all summer, if we get a really good bid for him, I think he needs to go, because that's what we need to do as a club. We need to be selling players when they're high and reinvesting that money. So I think there's a bit of blame there for sure that we either haven't been able to integrate him into the team quick enough, and also that we haven't been able to, I don't want to say been able to sell him because that sounds like that sounds a bit abrupt, but we haven't been able to sort of find an agreement, I guess, to get a good value on him that we could then reinvest. So we're now into the risk territory of, is he going to fit in? Are we going to bomb his value because he doesn't fit in? Are we going to look at a January loan, and that would be even worse? All this sort of stuff that sort of goes through your head. The best case scenario, I think, as Stevie outlined, is get him playing, get him fit and focused, get him in the team as the number 6, and let it go. And we'll see. Hopefully, we can have a great season, great World Cup, and we'll see where we are then. But I would like an extra year's extension quickly, just to sort of try and protect that value.
Ironically, Adam, you'll probably be best placed to ask this. I think Nico would have flourished in the formation set up the way it was yesterday. Diamande and Barron being more or less 6s. That's where Nico should play for me in there, because I don't think any of the 6s we currently have, if it's Diamande or Barron or Rothwell or Raskin, can play in the system that Russell Martin implemented by themselves in that midfield position earlier on in the games we've seen. But if you chuck them together the way it was yesterday, you've seen Barron and Diamande actually thrived and played quite well in that side of it. You put Raskin in there, arguably as our best player. I think he thrives in that. So it's up to Nico and Russell Martin to make sure that we're making Nico Raskin thrive. And Nico Raskin's got a responsibility to make sure that he's not the one that Russell Martin's referring to. And it's clear now that all the summer where he talks about, egos, and I said to them about no bids being in and blah, blah, blah. It's clear now who he's targeted that at, because Nico Raskin has missed, the biggest derby for us in the season. And that's a message to him as well, that he needs to buckle down. So, for everyone's sake, Nico, is a World Cup year for him, etc. He needs to sort it out. Russell Martin, they need to get together. But to the original point, I think if you started him in that team yesterday, he would have thrived in that position, which is probably as frustrating for us as a support, because we want to see our best players playing. And Nico Raskin is, for me, that.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. Sorry, I was going to say I agree. The challenge there is, as it always is with Rangers, how many times a season do we need that type of midfield performance that we've seen yesterday? Now, I think that's a great template for Celtic games potentially, and European games where we've seen that we're getting cut open through the middle is probably polite. It's happening in some league games as well, or it has been. So there's an element of that for sure. Do we tighten up, if you like, in the games that are coming up, Hearts and Hibs, etc., and go with that and have them sitting a little bit more? I thought Diomande was great yesterday at that side of it. But the thing I'm concerned about for the midfield and potentially for the wings, if we don't get someone else in, I'm a little bit concerned about the attacking side of that. I'm a little bit concerned about where the creativity and where the goals are coming from in the centre of midfield. And I'm a little bit concerned about the wide options in terms of Gassam has been great. Is he going to carry on that goal scoring form? That seems unlikely. It would be incredible if he did, but I don't think he's too far off what his numbers were for Sheffield Wednesday last year in terms of goals already. Ant-Man, jury's out still for me. Looks tidy at times. I'm a bit concerned to the point earlier on that when we've got strikers like the two that we've brought in that need service, those four positions, the two attacking central midfield positions and the two wide positions, I think we've got players there. But I think there needs to be a bit of a thought about how we get those players to play together. I think there's some talent there individually, but I think the tactical side of it needs to, maybe that'll embed, maybe this is what Russell Martin is talking about in terms of clicking, maybe there will be some things in there. So I agree, having two deeper midfielders would help and would probably bring out more of Raskin. But it's then just a balance further up as well. What should have been done, in my opinion, was a priority. Should have been a number 6 that can do everything on his own that Russell Martin wants in this system. And then you think about moving him forward potentially, or having him work with him at times as well. That, for whatever reason, that was Rothwell. I was a bit baffled that Joe Rothwell was coming to play as the number 6 when all we've seen of him is sort of box to box, etc. I think I said that quite early on. That'll be a decision the manager has to live or die by. As things stand right now, I think Nico Raskin is the best fit for that number 6 position at the club. However, I agree with Stevie's point that I don't think it's a perfect fit just as a number 6 on his own.
Yeah. Before you boys head off to bed, another departure today. Oscar Cortez, Stevie, headed out to Sporting Gijón over in Spain on a year's loan. No option or obligation to buy at the end of it, but it will be a chance for him to go down there and play football games, which he hasn't been doing at Rangers. Just been a disastrous signing, unfortunately, for the lad. It's really a shame for him that he picked up that injury early on, picked up other injuries after that, and it just hasn't worked, has it?
No, it hasn't. It definitely hasn't. He needs to go on and play football, that's for sure. And I think it's a good move for everyone, because it looks very unlikely that we're going to profit off of that deal, is it? And it looks very unlikely we'll maybe get our money back at this point in time. So if he goes and has a good season, we've done well. Like, some of our outgoing sales this summer have been really, really good. So from a Kevin Thelwell point of view, he can point to that as saying that's a positive, because we haven't been getting fees for players, as you've seen from the fire sale last summer.
Yep.
So if Oscar Cortez can go and prove himself, and here he might even come back and be one of the players that we need to improve, but that's a long way away from being true. But one thing for sure, he needs to go and play football. So it's a good move for everyone, and hopefully he goes and flourishes, because we need that for not only us, but for him and what we're going to do with him in the future also. Made sense.
I think as well, I was maybe a little bit critical there, but not not selling Raskin at the time. I think we've done a great job, to be honest, of getting some players out. I have to say, there's been a lot there that people are thinking, is this player really going to be here? This player that we probably need to sell? And I think Dessers falls into that category. I agree with everything that's been said, but I still think that Rangers shouldn't be missing a player like Cyril Dessers. I think we should be backing ourselves to find similar players to that quality fairly easily. I think you can say, he scored 25 goals a season, and we haven't had that for a lot of times. I agree with that. That doesn't mean that we can't do it. 2 years to go in his contract, the age that he's at just now, I think that's a really good fee, and I think we've done a lot of good business in that sense. There's only really one or two left that you might think can't really be trusted or reliable to contribute, and arguably their contracts will be running out in the next 12 months or so. So I think on that point, I think we've done a good job, and we've brought in a decent amount of money there as well.
And another transfer window that Rabbi Matondo survived.
I was going to say, we've got Rabbi to look forward to making his comeback from injury. So watch this space. Yeah, so fantastic stuff. Right, boys, I will bid you farewell. Thank you for your contribution to the show this evening. And sweet dreams.
Cheers.
There we go. That is Adam and Stevie, who were magnificent as ever. Now it's time to bring in Blair Malloy. There he goes. How's it going, Blair?
Good evening, Derek. How are we? We're well into the power hour now in transfer deadline day.
Yes, we absolutely are. The final furlong here. And if you are just joining us, folks, a very good evening to you all. Thousands of you tuning into the show tonight. So it is very much appreciated. So we're going to discuss in the next hour the squad as it stands. We'll assess that, how it's looking, transfers in and out as well. Have a good old rummage around the Rangers business. But what have you made of the deadline day business, Blair? The two additions and, of course, the departures in Cyril Dessers and Oscar Cortes.
Well, first, Eric, I must say I commend you for two things. One, that outfit is absolutely dapper for transfer deadline day. I must say you've made the effort. And secondly, what a shift you've put in today. I think I seen you on here at 9:30 this morning, still going strong at 10:05 at night. So that's commendable commitment to the cause here, Derek.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, we don't mess about in transfer deadline day. It's a serious business here at the Rangers Review, but there you go.
Very much so. On to the matters on the park. I don't know. I'm tempted to come at this with a bit of positivity that we've maybe not seen from quarters so far. I completely understand the reticence to be optimistic about Yusuf Chermiti, but I don't think many of us have seen this guy play. I don't think many of us really know what he's all about. So I'm willing to give him a bit of the benefit of the doubt right now. Maybe it's blind faith. Maybe it's blind optimism. Maybe I've just waited too long for Rangers to spend this much money in my lifetime that I'm just excited about the fact that they've maybe spent £10 million on a player. So I'm willing to take a punt. I'm willing to take an emotional punt that I can fall in love with a striker and he might reward me with 25 goals this year.
Yeah. We touched on it earlier with Cyril Dessers leaving. Of course, he was a bit of an enigma in the end, but you can't deny he got a good return in terms of goals. And I very much hope that we see Bojan Miovski and Yusuf Chermiti back at a barrel load this season. Not just them. I think a big criticism of Rangers over the years is goals not being contributed enough from other areas of the pitch. And at this moment in time, I've never seen a Rangers team create so little. And that was clearly evident yesterday as well, with the chances that Rangers failed to create 0 shots on target, which is deplorable, Blair. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Chermiti is going to have any chance of making it in this Rangers team, we're going to have to make him chances. I think that's what Sunday really epitomised. I think, as you said there, having no shots on target is horrendous, really. I know Russell Martin came out after the game and said he's not particularly worried about that because his teams always score goals. And again, we've not seen a whole lot of that so far this season. So I think Bojan Miovski, in his performance the other day, I know I don't really want to talk too much about that Old Firm game. I think that's the quicker we forget it, the better, perhaps. But I think we've seen in that game with Bojan Miovski what he will offer. I think he made himself a nuisance. He made himself busy. And I think that he for me, the big thing that I seen on Sunday that Bojan Majowski's bringing into the side is the ability to go long. And it's something that I've not seen from this Rangers team yet. It's something I've not seen from a few Rangers teams in the past few years. I think John Souttar all of a sudden looked much more comfortable when he had that option of that big diagonal for him. I think you could see that he had something to hit up there. And I think that it played into his game that when you give John Souttar a target, he can actually start pinging those diagonals and going, okay, this could actually lead us somewhere. And you could
Yeah.
also see it. You can see it in the Celtic defence the other day. When those high balls are coming in over the top, over the back line, Bojan Majowski's on their shoulder, and you can see them worried. You can see them having to make a decision. And I think that Rangers, in the past few years, probably haven't had enough strikers that will make defenders make decisions. Cyril Dessers, he did that to an extent. He scored a lot of goals. I'll miss the big man. I think he was one of the nicest men that I've ever dealt with in football. Every time you met him, he met you with a smile. He was courteous, and he really was a nice guy. But equally, I don't know a single Rangers fan that at some point during Cyril Dessers' career has said he's not the one for us. He's not the one that's going to take us forward. So I think Cyril Dessers, we wish him all the best, but it's time to move on. Will it be Bojan Majowski who fills that gap with the goals, or will it be this new man, Chermiti? I'm willing to be optimistic about both.
Yep, a lot of you asking about Rangers business today, and of course with a little under 52 minutes of the window remaining, whether that is a business done, certainly it looks that way. I think that will be Rangers done for tonight, unless something miraculous happens in the remaining minutes of this window. But what we're going to do, before Joshua joins us in just under 10 minutes time, I'm going to put up a little graphic here of the ins and outs, Blair, and we'll just run through. No, it's early days in many of these guys' Rangers careers, especially Yusuf Chermiti and Derek Cornelius. But just running through, I mean, Oscar Cortez has departed as well. Of course, that was his loan that became a permanent deal in the summer. But running through there, you can see an awful lot of players have came in. Cortez, Antman, Asgard, Miovski, we touched on there, Fernandez, Gassama, Rothwell, Cameron, Moore, Giga, Aarons, and Magoma. The players departing. Dessers, of course, today. Igaman, Igaman who scored 2 goals in his debut the other day there for Lille, Jefte, Ridvan, Robin Proper, Robbie Fraser, Cifuentes, Cortez, Davis, McCausland, and Munn. So Adam touched on the point before he came on, Blair, that Rangers have managed to shift out a lot of dead wood, for want of a better phrase there, players that aren't contributing to the squad. Still Rabi Matondo to come back, of course. But when you look at it in that sort of graphic there, you can see there's been a big turnover of players.
Yeah, I think if you look at that Rangers out section of that graphic there, you're probably only looking at Igaman and Dessers as the 2 players that were really good enough to be first-team players in my eyes anyway. I think the rest of those, I think you can have the argument about Jefte, you can have the argument about Ridvan, but I think the rest of them definitely are not players that I would be wanting to put in my Rangers starting 11. Mason Munn's a little bit different. He's a development goalkeeper, so very much time for him to develop into a starting player.
Yeah.
But I think out with Igaman and Dessers, I don't think there's many on that list that Rangers fans are particularly unhappy to see go. And I dare say that there will be Rangers fans in the cold light of day that will see Dessers leave as well and go, you know what, you're missing a big personality there. But at the same time, if you replace the goals, then I think it's a good move. I think the only player, and the way he left is probably even clouded that somewhat, that you're really looking at going, he could have made a big difference this year, would be Hamza Igaman. I think looking over to the other side in the ins, I was making this graphic up earlier, Derek, and I was stunned by just how many ins we've had. I just don't know if it's been such a long transfer window, or with all the news of the takeover and everything that's been on the last 2 months, it seems like it's just been a very long, protracted summer, and I remember we actually went back to the start, and Rangers were quite slow to get the ball rolling when it came to making transfers. I know there was a lot of people saying, "Oh, Rangers are they're taking a bit long here, or they're not getting deals done quick enough." You look at it now. I think what you can say unequivocally is that the board has backed Russell Martin. Absolutely, they have given him and more than enough ammunition to go and make a real fist of this league and make a real fist of it this year, because a lot of those players are not cheap. A lot of those players that are in the supposed prime of their career. So, I mean, it's all up to what Russell Martin does with them now, I guess.
Absolutely is. Yeah. I remember there was a bit of consternation at the lack of activity at the start. I think Lyle Cameron, of course, was the long-awaited pre-contract that was he was unveiled, of course, and then who was it? Joe Rothwell after that, and then Fernandez, perhaps, I think, or Aarons, was it? Followed suit. I can't remember, but
I believe. Yeah, Aarons was the first one after Lyle Cameron.
Yeah, and then just running through those ads. Thank you for those that are commenting. Cornelius is alone, with Rangers, of course, having that option next summer. Listen, the jury is going to be out on all these boys at this stage. It's too early, I think, to say if they're going to make it or not. But one player that's down there at the bottom, second from last, is Max Aarons. He's coming for some criticism already, Blair. Sort of cut him a bit of slack when he initially came in because he was playing out of position at left back. But I do not think he is an upgrade on James Tavernier. We've seen at the weekend, Tavernier started the game. And I don't know what it is with him. He's just lost his way a wee bit, whether that's a confidence thing with Max Aarons, but you're getting fans saying, can we cancel the loan agreement already? We need to see more from this boy.
Yeah, absolutely we do, Derek, absolutely. I think he showed some glimpses in those early Champions League qualifiers that there was maybe a player there, especially going forward. And he was obviously played out of position his first few games, which I think more so at Rangers than anywhere else. If you don't start well, it's very, very hard to get the fans back on side. I think you need to have a good opening first few games to really buy yourself time, essentially. And he didn't start well at all. So I think that maybe clouded fans' judgment of him, and instantly they'd made their mind up on him. And he's not really done anything to dissuade that since. I think he's he struggled to cement himself in that team. I know Russell Martin gave him a few opportunities at right back to go, okay, now you've got a chance in the position you want to play in, go and make it your own. He didn't take that. I think, if anything, what he's done is he's pushed James Tavernier back up to a level again that I thought he was maybe missing, because I thought James Tavernier played well yesterday. And I think we've now got to a strange through the looking glass point where the entire Rangers support are behind James Tavernier wanting him to come into the team, which I would never have thought last year. So I think that Tavernier for me is definitely a first choice right back. I think with Cornelius coming into the side, I appreciate he is a loan as well. I've just not put that in there, but we've had so many discussions on the channel so far this year about the amount of loans at the back. Now, if Cornelius comes in for John Souttar at any point, you're then looking at your entire back four being loan players. Now, technically gifted they may be, I think that's a fundamental problem, Derek. I think there's something not right about the recruitment when your entire back four are potentially made up of loan players. That is, of course, if Aarons comes in for Tavernier. Jaden Migoma looks like a good player. He looks like he done well the other night. He looked good against Bruges. He was making himself known in the park for someone so young. But again, if we don't bring in a left back before the window closes, now what do we have? 45 minutes left. If there isn't a left back coming in, if there isn't a senior left back coming in, you're once again relying on a kid to be your first choice left back for the entire season. And I dare say, is this not the exact same problem that we encountered with Jeffy?
It's mad, really. Yeah, just 19. I think Cornelius, by all accounts, can play there, but I would have liked an experienced pro to come in and help him out. At this point, at this juncture, we're going to welcome Master Barry into the chat. So we'll remove the ins and outs, and then we'll bring Joshua in. There we go. How's it going, Joshua?
Hello, everyone. Going fine. You? Looking good, Derek. Sharp.
Yeah, thank you. There we go. Yeah, no messing about tonight. Unfortunately, we've had the Cornelius that move, which was widely anticipated to be unveiled at some point. That was broke at we broke the news earlier, of course, but it was unveiled at 9:30. But I wonder if there'll be any more before the window shuts. But don't expect anything unless something crazy happens between now and the end of the window. You just never know. But what you've made of the business and the work that Rangers have done today, Joshua, two big signings coming in Cornelius and Chermiti, and then departures, namely Dessers and Oscar Cortez on loan.
Yeah, latest murmurings I'm picking up is I would be surprised if there's another addition, Derek. I think Rangers have been working on trying to sign an attacker. As of this morning, I think the expectation was that they wouldn't get another left back in. I was just listening to Blair speak about the comparisons to Jeffy and Meg Homa, and I agree with him on that. There's loads to dissect about this window, and we'll continue to do that over the international break. But on the business today, Cortez going out on loan. We had that story earlier. It's the right move. Speaking to someone close to Oscar Cortez, the mood very much was, look, he wants to go out and play football. This is a guy that hasn't really played consistently since the early part of 2023, Derek. He hadn't played in the 6 months before he came to Rangers. He had a few games before that bad injury, and then he's just had a nightmare spell with injuries. He's now back in really good condition. We've spoken about that over summer. But I think he's pretty on short on confidence and just short on consistent games. So he will hopefully get that in Spain. Cyril Dessers have just tweeted out there that, I don't know if you guys remember this, I'm sure a lot of people will remember it who are watching on. The game against Motherwell, where he actually scored a deflected goal, but it was that game where under Michael Beale things just started to unravel, even though Rangers won the game. I remember vividly watching that game when Dessers came off the pitch and thinking, there is no chance you come back from this. There's been much better players to play for Rangers, but a lot have contributed, I think, a lot less. And also, I honestly think that few have had the kind of mental fortitude that Dessers has had to come back time and again from really difficult moments. Even last season, he was jeered when he came on against Aberdeen in a 3-0 win, and he just had an ability to keep going. Again, he had his faults. I wouldn't have gone into him this season with him as your number one striker, but I think he can leave holding his head high. Yeah, having written a very different story than it seemed at the start. And briefly on Cornelius, I spoke to a couple of people about him today, a couple of people from his time at Malmo, but honestly don't know a ton about him. He brings a lot of experience, got moved to a top 5 league, so there's some positives there. Gives you another option in the centre of defence, which was absolutely necessary. And then the big one is Yusuf Shermiti, again, speaking to a couple of sporting coaches who worked with him tomorrow to find out a little bit more. I think there's two sides to it. One is that it's really positive to see Rangers spend heavily on a striker, and it's really positive to see them invest heavily at the top end of the pitch. This is a real stress test of Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy's recruitment, because it's it is their player. It's a player that they brought to Everton in the first place. He's big, he's physical, but he's only scored a handful of goals. So there's a lot riding on it and a lot of unknowns. You can't do all the work in one window. My big feeling coming out of this window, Derek, which we'll maybe get into over the next however long we've got left, is I still don't think Rangers have a real spine to their squad. No. And that is what they needed coming into this transfer window. They've spent heavily. They've signed some good players. I still don't think they have those 3 or 4 actual real leaders to build around for the next few years as things stand. Might develop, but as things stand, I don't see that yet.
Yeah, just seeing on social media word coming in, Bologna have had an approach for Connor Barron turned down. So there you go. That was an interesting one. I know that many Scots are heading out there to Italy to ply their trade. Connor Barron was really good, I thought, yesterday. So we'll bring you anything on that if it develops between now and the close of the show. But yeah, Chermitia has to work for me. It's a big gamble from Kevin Thelwell and Dan Purdy. It's a guy that they know well. And as you mentioned, the outlay is so substantial that he really has to be a success at Rangers. I hope he is. But it's an intriguing one. On Cornelius, incidentally, he did say after signing, I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to finally get going. What excited me is that it's such a massive club with such a passionate fan base. So that is always exciting, playing in front of fans that are going to support you and really push you over the edge. It's always something that every footballer looks forward to. So I'm looking forward to playing in front of these supporters, giving it my all and winning a lot of matches. Russell Martin says, we're delighted to welcome Derek to Rangers. His experience and leadership will be vital in enhancing our back line, whilst adding a left-sided defender adds further balance to the squad. He featured heavily in a top league last season, highlighting his qualities. We're confident he will shine further in the Rangers jersey. I'm looking forward to working with him following the conclusion of the international break. So there you go. I think that's a very solid signing. When we had Adam and Stevie on earlier, Joshua, we were discussing Cornelius and whether we could see Rangers revert to a back 3, perhaps. Could that be a possibility, do you reckon?
Did we not see it at some point in pre-season or earlier in the season? I think we did. This season feels like it's been about 6 months already.
Yes.
It's only a few games in. Yeah, listen, we spoke about it this morning, didn't we? That Russell Martin's been criticised predominantly, I think, by us for being too dogmatic, and he changed things. By all accounts, the focus after that game internally was very much on that they needed to be strong off the ball. I still think it was a missed opportunity yesterday on Sunday to not get that win, but they'll need to have a degree of flexibility throughout the season. And yeah, Cornelius, if you look at things on paper, and we can't really judge transfers like that, we know. But as I say, the experience at Malmo and getting the move to a top 5 league is positive. It's encouraging.
Yeah.
Again, have Rangers truly upgraded at centre back? Probably. I think Giga can be a good complementary defender. I still don't think him and Suter's your first choice. So you're asking a lot on this Cornelius signing being spot on, much like Chermiti. I'm still looking at a lot of positions of the squad, Derek, and I'm thinking, do you know what? I think the best signing of deadline day is, and one of the best signings of the window is probably resolving the Raskin situation, which is all Rangers' own creation. But I almost think that's the biggest story of today that Chris broke earlier, because they weren't going to get anyone in of superior quality to him on deadline day. I'm intrigued. Well, I've been dipping in and out the last hour, but how many positions do you think? I'll throw it back to you, Derek, because you're asking us all these questions. How many positions are, if it stays as it is, I think it probably will. There could be a late twist and turn, but that's where I think things stand at the moment. How many positions of the pitch are Rangers stronger in, do you think?
Well, what I'm going to do is that's a good tease into a graphic we've got of the pitch and the squad as it stands at the moment. So we'll bring this up. So this is the squad as it looks at this moment in time, and my eyes are immediately drawn to left back, where there's one name in there. Now, I told you just what Russell Martin said about Cornelius there, that he's a left-sided defender. I wonder if he could be a player that could fill in at left back at points. I'm not too sure. I've not seen him play before. Interestingly, Adam brought up Clinton Enciala earlier and about his future, which is still up in the air. We've got to say at this point in time, he's still a Rangers player. He's not headed out anywhere on loan. Could he be brought in from the cold, perhaps? But of the positions there, you touched on Chermiti. I think £8 million, rising to 10 million, could have been better spent, perhaps. It's hard to say that because we've not seen him play, but I think looking at the squad, certainly centre half, Cornelius could be the answer in there. I certainly think in the middle of the park, perhaps another midfielder could have been brought in. Right back is a concern for me because, as me and Blair were discussing, Max Aarons, I don't think he's up to it, unfortunately. And if we're relying on Dujon Sterling coming back from injury to compete with Tavernier, I don't think that's a good place to be. So yeah, that's where I stand on it. Like you, I agree with you. If Raskin had departed, then that leaves a bit of a hole in there, and Rangers would have had to go out and spent a bit of money on bringing in a quality midfielder. But wingers, the wings as well. We discussed Rak-Saki, of course, which looks unlikely at this point of happening. The wingers, happy with that, Joshua? I think we're not seeing them create enough for me. And yesterday was a case in point. No shots on target. Gassama and Moore created very little for Miovski. Well, zero. So that's not good. So there's so many areas of this squad that still need work done to it. But I think we've discussed on many shows before, this was not a one-window job. It's going to take two, maybe three windows to get it sorted.
Can I throw one out to you there? Here's one for you. I wonder if he's keeping Bailey Rice as a left back.
No, it can't be.
Just because we've seen that against Alloa.
And we should ever see it again.
There was talk of it in pre-season. I know there was a bit of chatter earlier in the window that Bailey Rice would go on loan. I don't know, Joshua, if you have anything more on that, you can update. Maybe we'll see. But I wonder if he's just kept him in there because he has a little bit of a plan for him at left back. Now, obviously, you've got Dujon Sterling as well, and we've seen Dujon Sterling be the utility man. And maybe I'm just hoping here because looking at that on paper, if they're going into the season with one left back and hoping that'll do, that's concerning.
Yeah. So firstly, on Bailey Rice, we reported, Blair, I think we included it in the transfer state of play we put out this morning, that Motherwell obviously moved elsewhere. Our understanding was Motherwell was always probably unlikely and Rice was an option, but not a main target for them. Falkirk was another team that had made an inquiry, as we understand, to take Rice on loan. But the main issue with Rice at the moment is his contract's up next year. We reported back in April that some early talks has started about extending that, but a lot of extenuating circumstances, a lot of change this summer, and also he's not played that much football. So I think his future is a talking point. His future still needs to be addressed. Dujon Sterling, my understanding is that he'll, all being well, will be back in a kind of like mid-October time and is recovering really well. Now, he gives you flexibility along the back line if he can remain fit. But you asked me initially, Derek, the two areas of the team, in particular, the wings. Sorry, the two wings. What I think of them.
Yeah.
The biggest issue for me in that team at the moment. So I've already said I think you've not really got a spine for the money you've spent. So I'm looking at the money spent on Manny Fernandez in particular, and I'm thinking, is that the best place to invest it? I'm looking at Trimiti and thinking you've got to give him an opportunity, and they obviously see it fit to invest in him. So I'm going to watch him play before I make a real judgment on that. But again, it's a lot of money to spend in that position, especially when you see, Václav Černý going back to Besiktas, and you think, could there have been a possibility there? But the biggest issue I'm looking at is kind of the right side. And the reason for that is I don't think you've improved your right back position. I think James Tavernier is still your first choice right back at the moment. By Rami, we reported this morning expectation he was going to stay, having been brought back into the squad. Obviously came on against Celtic, and I thought Diomande was much better against Celtic, but he tends to be better in those big games as opposed to games where he's breaking down the low block. And I thought the issue against Celtic was you just had so many right footers, and it didn't look quite balanced enough. And for the style that Martin wants to play, that's why you saw Kieran Dowell play there at the start of the season. I think you need a left footer to chop inside and give you some flexibility. Antman, for me, is a creative player, and that's reflected in his stats in Holland last season, but also you can see he has the ability to pick a pass. But if you're playing a right footer on the right side against back fives, Rangers haven't quite got that balance right so far, have they? So they're kind of lopsided in that they've got loads of players that can play in that left half space and the left wing, but they've not got a ton of players who are natural out on the right wing. I don't know if they've upgraded at right back, and I think Jaden Mykoma's looked really good, but it's a big test to not burn him out over the course of the season. I think we saw with Jeffrey that he started really brightly, faded a bit, but Rangers have been able to sell him because he's a player with a lot of potential. And we're looking at Mykoma. I think the most games he's played in a professional season is the minutes he played for Preston last year, 12, 13, 14 appearances. So that would be my overall thoughts, not only on the wings, but that kind of imbalance you're seeing at the moment from right to left.
I think it's a given he's going to burn out. You think of the games that Rangers play. I mean, European games. Well, he's the only guy there. So I don't know if Blair's suggestion might be wild to some, but Russell Martin clearly sees Bailey Rice as an option at left back. But like you, I don't want to see that ever again. But given the lack of personnel there, then it may very well be the case. Clinton Enciala, of course, we touched on, seems to be out the picture. Cornelius, as we mentioned, that we haven't seen him yet. He could be an option there. Goalkeeper, there's some suggestions as well about the goalkeeper situation. We discussed it at length on a number of shows over the course of the summer about what's going to happen with Jack Butland, whether he'll be moved on. He's probably been Rangers' best player, and unfortunately, he's been probably the most busy player in that team since Russell Martin took over, and long may it continue. Incidentally, I think he's been pretty good. But is that the goalkeeping situation? I'll start with you, Blair. You quite happy with what Rangers have in that department at this point in time?
I wouldn't say I was massively happy with it, but I would say that there's probably bigger problems elsewhere. I don't think it's very high up on the priority list. If you offered me Jack Butland and Liam Kelly going into the season, I think I'm fairly happy to take that and just go, okay, that's good enough. I mean, I would like Rangers to maybe, if they're going to continue down this road of Russell Martin's tactics, I'd like them to maybe go out and get a goalkeeper that can play with their feet. I think that's probably necessary. I think Jack Butland looked more comfortable on Sunday because there was so many times he was just getting it long. And I think I've seen a noticeable marked increase in the amount of times on Sunday where he just put his foot through it. And I think that's Jack Butland's maybe one of those dying breeds of goalkeepers that is a shot stopper that if you try to ask him to play football, I think you're going to end yourself up in a world of trouble. It's an interesting, obviously, we're talking about stratospheric differences and levels here, but JJ Donnarumma signing for Manchester City, he's the absolute antithesis of a ball-playing goalkeeper. He is a shot stopper extraordinaire, but while Pep Guardiola managed to turn him into a ball-playing goalkeeper, I don't know if even at the highest level you can teach old dogs new tricks in that regard. So I don't know, Jack Butland, I don't think he's ever going to be the perfect goalkeeper for a Russell Martin system, but I think he's good enough for the Scottish Premiership anyway. I think Liam Kelly's probably a little bit hard done by in the little minutes that he's got. I always think Liam Kelly was a really solid domestic goalkeeper, so I think he'll probably get a little bit of time in the Cups. But as far as going into the season with Butland and Kelly, I think I'm happy enough with that.
Yeah. Got to say, I've got to feel for James Trafford just when you mentioned Donnarumma there. Going back to Man City, spent about 26 million quid or something, bringing them back to City, and then they're going to buy Donnarumma. So it's sort of a situation he found himself in when he left City to begin with. But hopefully he can keep the jersey because he's a cracking lad. So that is at the state of play. As you mentioned when you came on there, Joshua, it's our understanding, I think, that is the business done. Is that a squad that can... Listen, the start to the season has been unacceptable. Let's be honest. 4 draws from the opening 4 games, 3 goals, none from open play. We're dubious about the Finlay Curtis one against St Mirren, but it has been a really poor start to the season. That squad that is on your screen as you look at it, is that strong enough to compete?
I'm sorry, I'm a little bit distracted because I'm fighting through WhatsApp's here. I said a few minutes ago.
Any breaking news?
No, sadly not. No, sadly not. It's bad news, Derek. I think Rangers are done. I think they're done. Couple of pieces of information there that probably that is there's not going to be any late drama. Never say never and all that. Never say never and all that. But that is the latest. That we are trying to piece together. Yeah. So I'll answer your question on the whole squad. I just want to say quickly on goalkeepers, I have a quick hot take for you. I don't think Jack Butland, the biggest thing is the ball with his feet. I honestly don't. I think he's been all right with the ball with his feet. He's actually been better than I thought he would be. He did kick it long a lot, and I think that was a positive because he's not brilliant at playing out under pressure, but I think to a degree he's done all right. For me, the biggest issue is he proactive enough?
Oh, there's your phone going.
Deadline day call coming in. No exciting breaking news. For me, the biggest issue is he's not proactive enough off his line. And while the high-line goal against, and just in general, while the high-line goal against, who was it, against Club Brugge, wasn't necessarily about just Butland. I think you even saw at the weekend, he's not a goalkeeper who wants to come out and be super proactive. And I think against the high line, that's the issue. So Rangers have explored a lot of different options, most notably Pierce Charles, to come in and as it was put to me, be a challenger to Butland. But that's not been done. Liam Kelly can do that. Liam Kelly's comfortable coming off his line, but ultimately no income is there over the course of the window.
Yeah, incidentally, he got injured recently, Pierce Charles. I think he has to undergo an operation for a shoulder injury. So not good news for the Owls, that's for sure, who have had a time of it. The point there, Blair, that squad, looking at it, the start that Rangers have made, listen, the matches when they come back from the international break are monumental. Russell Martin has to beat Hearts. There's no doubt about it. He can't afford to drop more points as it currently stands. My bugbear yesterday was Rangers offered very little in attack. It was almost as if both teams were quite happy to settle for a point. And let's be honest, this is a poor Celtic team. It's not exactly brimming with confidence and star quality. So that is a real bugbear that they find themselves 6 points ahead of Rangers. But the team that I'm looking at just now, the players, is that good enough to really stage a title challenge? Hearts, of course, are up there as well. They've started pretty well. What do you make of the squad as you look at it on your screen?
Well, I think you touched on it there, Derek, that Celtic themselves are having troubles in their recruitment department. I think you look
Absolutely.
on there tonight, they're really struggling to get people in the door, and I think their fans are going to be really battering down the door to say, why have we not made any signings? So you look at it from that perspective, and Rangers have put the money on the table. They have went and got the players. You look at going and Oliver Antman just going and paying the money for him. You look at that direct comparison with the other Go Ahead Eagles player that our neighbours across the city were after. Rangers went and they just put the money on the table they wanted. They went and Chermiti, for better or worse, now we don't know, we've not seen him. He was the man that they wanted. They went and put the money for him. They put it down there and they got it done. They got Majovski in before the Old Firm game on Sunday. Again, would maybe like to hope a bit more of an impact, maybe get a goal, but they got him in there and got him in the squad. So, like I said, when we brought up that Rangers ins and outs, if, as we're expecting, that's us done for the evening, you can still, I think it's still clear that this board have backed Russell Martin. I think they've gave him a lot of money to play with. They've gave him a lot of ammunition. And on paper, let's take it down a little peg. Is that squad good enough to go and beat Hearts? Absolutely. Is that squad good enough to go and beat every other team in the Scottish Premiership? Absolutely. On their day, absolutely. Is the squad probably good enough on another day? They really should have beat that Celtics team on Sunday. So I definitely think there is enough individual quality in that team to go and really make a fist of this division. I think that the system for me is the issue.
Yes.
I don't think it's necessarily individual players. I think it's the system with which you put these players into, which is what's going to make all the difference. And I think that if Russell Martin comes out and adopts the same techniques as he's adopted in his early part of the season, and there's not been lessons learned, then I think you could put any players in that system and they're going to struggle. So I don't think we can look at this and go, the recruitment they haven't had a go at it, because I think they definitely have.
Joshua, we discussed Chermiti in the first hour of the show and Miovski being there as well. Could we potentially see the pair of them playing together in a team? I like the look of Miovski and Chermiti. You're not spending that much money on this boy to sit on the bench.
Yeah, I think we've got Chris with us. We do. Here he is. I'm going to add him in. I'll add him in. Here he is. Will we pause that question, Derek, and let Chris update us on Chris? Put everyone out of their misery. Come on.
Been sitting here for the last 20 minutes, and you boys are just holding the fort without me. There's no need for me to come back. I'm sure, as people have seen from our social media by now, I can confirm that Rangers are done for this transfer window. They are no more business. They will not be signing any other players. We can now watch the numbers on this video drop off significantly as people go to their bed, and the four of us can get to our bed as well. But now that is the latest and the last news of the window from Ibrox. I say Rangers are done for the summer. Overall, I think it's been a decent summer for Rangers. I think it's been a good summer for ourselves, gents, as well. So thank you for all your help, understanding, support, and everything else over the course of recent months. It's been emotional.
Yeah, you deserve some quality shut-eye, Chris. Outstanding work as ever today. So fantastic. But that is the big news, folks. Rangers are done for the summer transfer window. So there you go. Right, we won't keep you, Chris, because you need to go and get some.
You might want to stay, Chris. Do you not want to stay and give us your thoughts one more time, or you probably have about 50 hours of sleep to catch up on from the last week, don't you?
If there's any other question that I've not answered over the last, when did this transfer window open? End of June, start of July. If there's any other question that I've not answered, you've got 2 minutes before I go to my bed.
Yeah, well, there you go. If you want to get your questions in, folks, then please do so. We've got another 15 minutes or so before we wrap things up here. But yeah, Chris, we'll bid you farewell because you've done a cracking job. You've put in the hours, as we all have, of course. But yeah, well done to Mr. Jack for a sterling performance. So adios, amigo.
Thanks, gents. I'll catch you.
Oh, there he goes.
Just like that, Chris has departed the building. Incidentally, folks, tomorrow morning we're back on. I'll get half an hour sleep and then we're back on. Myself and Blair, I think, back on tomorrow morning. So yeah, you can join us for that on the show. But what was the question I asked you, Josh, before?
Two up top.
Yes, two up top. Do you think we'll see it?
I'd like to. I don't know, but honestly, I've watched so little of Chermiti and my Chermiti.
Yeah, I didn't know who he was, to be honest, until you reported it on the website. A week or so ago.
It's been an interesting one, and listen, we'll have loads more coverage to come post the transfer window about specifically somehow of how these moves happened, but also the transfer window kind of taking you inside as a whole, because there's so much detail in this summer. It's been a summer of so much change. But Chermiti was a name, Derek, that kind of was first on our radar probably about a month and a half, even a couple of months ago. But it was always kind of said with look, the striker situation is fluid, and the loan was always the most likely. But what was put on top of that was, look, this I know his goal record's bad, and I know it's easy to kind of clip up that and make it look bad on social media. But this is a player that Everton really believed in to spend that money on, and crucially, Rangers, new heads of the recruitment team did as well. And as we understand it, the initial inquiry that we reported on just on Friday, Derek, was to do with a loan deal. However, a few things developed. Rangers had money to spend because of the money that's also come into the club, and talks over a permanent deal accelerated to a point where now an initial £8 million is going to be spent on this player. I like Miovski. I think there's questions about how he does against a low block, largely again because you have to question that with everyone that arrives at the club, because it's such a unique game state that you don't face that much elsewhere. He won't really have faced that against Aberdeen. Yep. But for the amount of time that Rangers spend in the opposition half, for the amount of for the premium that is on strikers, and that is an important point to note. I don't know if you saw today, but Celtic's former striker, I think I'm right in saying Blair, he went for £28 million, and this is a guy who was
mad.
Who didn't really, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think he got much of a game at Celtic. There's a real premium on strikers at the moment, which needs to be taken into the Chermiti conversation. If it doesn't work, then there's a lot of inquiry to be done into it, because that is the argument as to why Rangers should not be shopping in a Premier League market. They should be shopping in markets that got them the likes of Hamza Gaman and Jeffy and others. But I would like to see, in line with what we're seeing surrounding football, Liverpool maybe being the best example. You'll probably see Isak and Ekitike put up top together. For the amount of time spent in the opposition half, get two strikers on and work around it, especially if you're moving one of the fullbacks in field. I don't see why it can happen at some point.
Yeah, Blair, you touched on earlier. I mean, the club across the city, the other mob, as Fashion Sakala famously put it, have the two bits of business they've done has been outgoings today. Stephen Welsh has went to Motherwell, and of course Adam Ida has went down to Swansea. But you look at that, Brendan Rodgers, of course, has been hoping to strengthen his squad, but that is not a Celtic squad as we seen yesterday. Now, I don't watch Celtic much other than when they play Rangers, really, but that is not a squad to be feared unless they go out and bring in Kylian Mbappe in the next 15 minutes or so. That is not a squad to be feared. The Rangers, if they can get their house in order, then a league title shouldn't be out with their capabilities.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I don't think it's a league that has. I don't think it's a Celtic team that's anywhere near the Celtic teams that we've seen in the past with Ange Postecoglou and even Brendan Rodgers first time round. I've made this point a few times at different places that I think Tony Bloom has came up to Scotland. He's taken one look at that derby yesterday and he said, "This is all I have to beat." And I really don't blame him, to be honest, because I think the quality you seen yesterday was so poor. But I think you're right. Rangers, the recruitment that they've done this summer, there is a lot of good quality players in there. And I think if they can get it working, they can get it properly together, then I don't see why there's any reason why this can't be a title race again. I think, like I said in the previous point, I think it's the style of play that really makes the difference in terms of how these players can operate. I think Oliver Antman's a really good player. I think you've seen that if you've watched any of his time back in Holland, he is a cross merchant. He absolutely loves hitting the byline and putting the ball in the box, and he's just not really been allowed to do that in this system yet. He's not really getting the space to do it. But I think there's players there that have definitely got high ceilings that if they reach them, then there's no reason why this couldn't be a success domestically for Rangers this year. Just touching on a point that Josh brought up a minute ago, talking about the inflated transfer fees and the premium on forward players. I think a good example of that today was Tyreek George, who's played very, very little football for Chelsea. He's went to Fulham for the best part of £22 million. And this is essentially an academy player going for more than double Rangers' biggest ever outlay for a player, which just shows you that I don't think it's necessarily the transfer fee that, especially with the Chermiti deal, it's not the transfer fee that's the issue. It's the market we're shopping in. We're going to the most expensive supermarket. We're not even trying to shop in Tesco. We're going straight to Waitrose and we're expecting to find value. It's not going to happen. So don't get me wrong, you might get a better meal deal out of Waitrose, but at the same time, you're going to pay more for it.
Yeah, I hope Chermiti is a very expensive meal deal and is a very luxurious one as well, and he delivers. But interesting analogy. Just deviating slightly, Joshua touched on deals elsewhere. 2 ex-Rangers I've noticed away to other clubs. John McLaughlin, I totally forgot about, has joined Middlesbrough from Swansea. And Václav Černý, I've seen Besiktas posting a tweet of him on a plane heading out to Istanbul to sign for them. I've got to say, I would have liked to have Rangers to have thrashed out a deal for Václav Černý. He was a success last season. What was a really disappointing campaign. Could have done with him yesterday. That is one that you think could more have been done there.
100%. Totally agree with you. And Abdallah Sima went for about £4 million to Lons. For me, again, I think that's a type of deal that had Rangers not changed their technical director and had they almost gone for this halfway house this summer, kept Niels Kopp in there, maybe those deals could have still been done, Derek. I think so much of this in football is about relationships, is about players trusting maybe someone who's brought them into the club before. Ultimately, a lot of people who are involved in both of those deals aren't really at the club anymore. New guys want to come in and sign new players. Fair enough. Rangers spent over £30 million this summer, so it's a lot of money. We'll get our exact specifics and again bring people more coverage in the coming days. But Rangers, they've brought money in, but they've spent a lot of money. I think Černý in this team would have been such a no-brainer. Now you have to rely on him coming back. Absolutely, but the focus in the English market outside of those 2 players, again going right back to what we reported on in June, which from conversations we were having, from what we were hearing, was our understanding that this will be a heavy look at domestic markets, leaning on some similar circles to what 49ers Enterprises have done at Leeds, and trying to go from there. I think Rangers have signed some good players, but it's a complete flip from the summer before. They didn't sign a single English player, I think, or a single player from the English market anyway of the 11 that came into the club. So there's going to be pressure, and much like the fact that yesterday was a huge opportunity for Rangers to get one over Celtic. This season, I'm not totally up to date with what Celtic have done today, but I don't judge that it's been particularly cordial.
No,
it's a huge opportunity, but Rangers time and time again, Derek, are not strong enough to hit Celtic when they're weak.
I know.
It's a huge opportunity this season. There just is. And Rangers have spent, yes, it's a transition, yes, it's a new style of play, but the pressure on results, which was already there in August, only increases going into September. Because if Hearts win at Ibrox, which, okay, maybe they're not favourites to, but it's probably 50-50 off the back of this month.
I can't see Rangers winning unless they change style, formation, and I can see it being another stalemate.
Yeah, but they absolutely need to. They need to win that game, and we'll see that the transfer window will be done. There can be no complaints over kind of uncertainty. Let's see what happens, but you cannot say that this new project has not been backed and has not been backed really handsomely.
Absolutely. Just a couple of points before we wrap up today. World's Great DJ says, can we still pick up a free agent after the window closes? Yes. I think there was some notable free agents out there, but I need to get a list up. But yeah, they can acquire free agents. And Billy K says, good value in Waitrose. Turkey Twizzlers are top class. Have you indulged the name before, Blair?
I can't say I have. No, I can't say I've ever tried a turkey twizzler.
I'll take your word for it, Billy. But there you go. And this one from Electro Ross says it's Dowell still a Rangers player. He is. He and Matondo survive. It wasn't part of the squad yesterday, Kieran Dowell. But yeah, I think everyone expected him to move on in the summer. Him and Ben Davis, of course, who spent the last season on loan at Birmingham City. But he's someone that Russell Martin rates, and yeah, he's still at the club. I can't even recall any clubs looking to prize him away, Joshua, off the top of my head.
But it's been because he's been told he's been a part of the plans, and Russell Martin's kind of said that publicly. It's not Rangers haven't been trying to offload him behind the scenes. And part of that, honestly, I think, and this isn't an informed decision, this is an opinion. Part of that is because he's a left-footed player. I actually thought when he came off the bench against Dundee, I think it was, that he was good, and he fizzed a few passes in. As we've repeated all month, being the Rangers manager is also political. This whole thing of judging players in a clean slate and this season being a clean break, it's not. And you've got to play that well to buy time, whether it be the players that you're bringing in, or whether it be how you speak about things like pain threshold. But that's why there's not been noise over his future. And just important to note as well that, again, just having a couple of WhatsApp conversations with people in the last half hour, the players that Rangers haven't got off the books, NCL being one of them, a few European markets are still open for a few days, and that is potentially an area where you can see some movement if Rangers can get players off the books. NCL will probably be in top of that list. I'd be surprised if they managed to get Matondo out this summer. He's in the final year of his 4-year deal, but NCL is one that Rangers have been trying to shift on a loan or a permanent for a good while now.
Yeah, that's been a disaster of a signing, Rabbi Matondo. It really has. But who knows? He might come back and do it. Kieran Dowell come back from beyond and really contribute this season, but I would have my doubts about that. Right, I think we'll call it a night there, folks. Another marathon show. A big thank you to you all for tuning in, incidentally, and for your comments and your interaction. It's very much appreciated. A big thank you to Stevie and to Adam, to Chris, and of course to Blair and Joshua as well. As we touched on earlier on, myself and Blair are back at it tomorrow morning at 9:30. So yeah, we'll get your Rangers fix sorted tomorrow. But any final comments before we wrap up, guys?
I would just say that I think we've done these shows, Derek, for 3 seasons, and I don't think we've had a single move go down really to the deadline. So maybe we're the problem. But no, wait, listen, I just think it's an opportunity to say we appreciate everyone joining, and right across the summer, we tried to bring you the most accurate news as quickly as possible. We work really hard to do that, but we really appreciate everyone tuning in. If you can subscribe on YouTube, totally free, and like, that really helps us and helps us bring people like Blair in and expand our coverage. And we've got a lot of exciting ideas for this season, especially when we can start to maybe talk about some football, but I will not hold my breath. So yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. Just echo that.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, folks. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Remember, just as Joshua says, make sure you just subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. You'll never miss a video when we go live. But we'll call it a night there. Good night, and we'll chat again soon. Bye for now.